What does it take to thrive as an industry leader? I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to The Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. In this episode, we dive into the fast-paced world of a distinguished entrepreneur with over 2 years of experience in the fast-moving consumer goods sector. Most recently with Raw Sea, one of Australia's leading coconut water brands. Joining me now is Scott Mendelsohn, CEO and founder of Raw Sea. Thank you for joining me, Scott.
Thanks, Kate, for having me.
So tell me, how did your family business shape you in terms of your career journey, starting at RM Williams and then ending up launching Raw Sea?
Well, both my parents have had their own businesses.
Right.
Both are from other countries, immigrants, came with nothing. So growing up, weekends, nights were often spent at my father's factory in Sydney. So I grew up around that entrepreneurial spirit and saw how hard they worked.
Yes.
Got into the clothing industry, promotional products industry, moved overseas, and when I came back, wasn't sure what I was going to do, and got into the coconut water business as a bit of a side hustle 11 years ago.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me 11 years ago, would I still be peddling coconut water, I probably would have laughed, but no, it's been a great journey.
How did you discover coconut water back, over a decade ago now? Because it wasn't particularly popular. What made you want to bring it to Australia?
I was living in Asia
Yes.
with another business that I had with my brother, and I was drinking a lot of coconuts.
Okay.
I was traveling a lot to the US, and there was a brand called Vita Coco over there, which was really the first big commercial brand of coconut water.
Yes.
And when I came back, I moved back from Asia. Like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I liked coconut water because it was healthy.
Yeah.
Australians, are outdoorsy, and I just thought there might be something in this.
And it's organic too, is that right? So nothing's...
Our coconut water is not organic at the moment, but our coconut oil is. But it's ethically sourced.
Yes.
We work directly with the farmers. So yeah, it's a great product.
And how do you scale up coconut water? So tell me this journey. So people have ideas of different products they want to bring to Australia, but that's scaling it up from just an idea in your first 2 containers or whatever it was that you started with. How did that happen?
It was, I think I benefited a bit from my past with watching my parents really hustle.
Yes.
I had no FMCG background whatsoever. I had no contacts. When I bought in my first container, I unloaded it, and my girlfriend, now my wife, Dana, said, "So what do you do?" And I was literally like, "I'm not sure." So I loaded her car up with 40 boxes, and I drove around the eastern suburbs of Sydney. And 9.5 hours in, I'd sold 1 box of coconut water.
God.
I got home, I was pretty downbeat, as you would be.
Yeah.
And I said to Dana, "I've only sold 1 box of coconut water." And she said, "That's great, because tomorrow you'll sell 2, and then the day after you'll sell 4. And I thought, she's a keeper because she's crazier than me.
That is really believing, isn't it?
It is. I definitely didn't believe in it. And back then, it was quite a niche product. It was really the yoga studios and gyms and what I guess you'd call a health nut that really knew about coconut water.
Yes.
I'd often go into stores and say, "I've got coconut water to sell," and they'd look at me with...
Are we on a tropical island or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Yeah. And what about the cost there? Was that something that was prohibitive at the start? Were people sort of balking at the cost, or was that acceptable?
Not really. Look, prices come down because the industry around the world has grown, but also the accessibility and the volumes, obviously. When you're a very small business, you're buying very small volumes, so you really don't have that price competitiveness. But obviously, as you grow, your supply strengthens and you get better pricing.
And what does the supply chain look like for you now? Whereabouts do you have your product, and how did you get it there to begin with?
So all our products come from offshore. They're all finished products that come into Australia.
Yes.
It was, again, just hustling. You know, our first major customer was Woolworths.
Wow.
And then we got into Coles and Aldi, Costco and independent supermarkets, gyms. So it's just growing year on year.
Yeah, and how big is your team now? What does the structure of this look like?
Team's 14, 15 people. We're probably undermanned for our size and, our growth. One of the challenges, you know, for all businesses these days is finding good people.
Yes.
You know, good people that you can rely on, but also people that are passionate. So it's probably one of the biggest challenges for a growing business is finding people that are going to fit into your culture.
That's right.
And I think it's the same for all businesses at the moment.
Yeah, and so you've got other side hustles as well and other businesses. So tell us about what else you're doing.
I think I've got ADHD, so I'm the sort of person that needs to be doing a lot of different things. Most of my investments in businesses are around the FMCG industry, but I like learning about other industries. I think you can get a lot of takeaways from other industries. I'm always networking, always going to trade shows, different industries, because I like to learn. I'm still learning the FMCG game. It's been 11 years in September. So, you know, I'm always learning. I'm always hungry to keep growing.
And so you do some mentoring now as well, and even investment into other businesses. How did you start that, or when did you start? When did you say, this is my next step?
So I probably spend about 5-10% of my time looking at investments and doing mentoring. I think I was very lucky when I started that I was able to just reach out to people, and people were very generous with their time. And that's what I say to people. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Just because they're a CEO of a major company doesn't mean that they're not going to, you know, be helpful. And the industry is pretty small in Australia. It feels like it's huge, but it doesn't take long to really get to know, you know, the people in the industry. So I'm always saying to people, don't be scared to pick up the phone. People can only say no, and in most occasions, people are willing to give their time.
And that's a really interesting point around Australia and how small the industry is once you're in there, because a decade in, I'm sure you've seen people move between all of the different, you know, customers, suppliers, and
absolutely,
you will be crossing paths in different points in time again. So how do you maintain relationships?
Oh God, it's hard in the sense that, you know, it's very focused on my business. But because the industry is so small, you do get people that you might have dealt with 5 or 6 years ago come back in front of you. Buyers, especially at the majors, they move around a lot. But you know, we're in different categories like oil or coconut milk, or in the juice section. So you often end up, you know, seeing them again or dealing with them again. So you never want to burn your bridges in this industry. But no, it's great. It's a great industry. People are mostly really good and very positive.
And what sort of spin have you put on your marketing to stand out from the crowd? Because I believe Raw Sea does have a real cult following and people love the product. So how did you build that? What's the key?
I think not being from the FMCG industry helped me a little bit, because like when we were first doing our branding, we were told not to put black on our packaging because it doesn't convey health. But I thought, well, you know, just because someone says you shouldn't do it doesn't mean you don't do it. So I was like, I don't want to have a sun on my packaging. I don't want to have palm trees on my packaging. I wanted to stand out, because when I started, there weren't that many coconut water brands, but it boomed. And then we did change our branding. So the only way to stand out was really differentiate with the colours and doing something a little bit different.
And so how many competitors or how many in the industry do you think there would be now, roughly?
I think 5 years ago we counted 80 to 90.
Gosh, right.
You know, everything from the Asian grocer stores to independent retailers bringing in their own brands. There's probably it's probably us and one other competitor have about 60% market share.
Yeah.
Private label's very strong for the supermarkets, and then there's smaller brands around as well.
And you're going global now, so your focus is the US next.
It is.
Or you've started there already.
We have. Yes. Yeah. We're launching at the moment, and we've got a big box retailer that's launching next year, which is very exciting.
Incredible, and it's a whole new market, isn't it?
It is. It's a whole new market, a whole new set of problems.
Yes.
And adventures. So yeah, it's exciting.
So tell me, how do you balance work, life, and I've heard that you have 2 children as well?
I do.
How do you manage that?
I've got a very forgiving wife.
Yes.
She's amazing. As I said earlier, the business wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her and her support. Because
so her patience from the start has carried through.
Oh, her patience even today. I travel a lot.
Yeah.
I'm travelling weekly at the moment, and having 2 young daughters is tough at the best of times.
Yeah.
But I've got a great set of friends around me. I've got some really good mentors and really good people, and I think the biggest thing for me in business, the biggest learnings about getting good people in your business, you can have the best product and it doesn't matter what category it's in if you haven't got good people around you, people that can complement you, people that can challenge you.
Yes.
I don't think your business can succeed without really good people.
Yeah, that's really important, and it's not just the complimentary ones, it's the challenging ones, because
Absolutely.
you can't see what you can't see.
Absolutely.
What's been the biggest hurdle or the biggest challenge that you face?
Probably I've bootstrapped the business from day one. I've never taken investment on, and to sit here and say the business has grown, I've made 1 million mistakes, I'll continue to make mistakes, but I think the biggest challenge has been, having to fund it ourselves.
Yeah.
We've had to sacrifice houses and sacrifice things, to do it that way. But I'm glad I've done it this way because, sometimes when you have partners or investors, you spend a lot of time answering to them and not working on the business.
Well, you're very, very humble. Congratulations on building your global empire, and I look forward to seeing what comes next. So this is Ticker, and we will be right back.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.